Hello. Uh, Today I'm gonna be teaching you and giving you the tutorial on how to make and assemble a 20 inches plus rose made from our new template design and original from the Crafty Sagittarius, which is petal number 137. So before we start, with this large flowers, with this large rose that I'm going to share with you the how to, let's be familiar with the things that we need before we begin. So first of all, we need some cardstock. I usually use 65 pounds. You can purchase this one either from Michael's, Joann's, or from Hobby Lobby. So it's all up to you. What's your budget? But basically, I always find the good deals from Michael's and Joann's. So because we're using the large, because we're making the large rose, we need to have 18 of the cardstock color that we want to make. So I have here the 18 sheets of cardstock. I also have 5 inches base. It's the diameter. I use the large base because when we make a rose, we make it sure that there's like enough room that we can put our center in, even after our even after our outer layers of petals are placed into our base. So I use the base that I use, actually this is a poster board, which I find more steady compared to cardstock. I buy my poster boards from the Dollar Tree. It's thicker, very ideal for base compared to the 65 pound cardstock, and plus it's cheaper. So we have here the paper, the base. I have my pencil. You are going to need this one if you bought PDF from my shop, but if you bought SVG, you don't need this pencil for tracing. And of course your scissors, your glue gun, your stick glue. I use dowel rods for curling my petals. Some of the people I know that are making flowers, they're using stick glue to curl it, but I would prefer the dowel rods because it's more it's harder, it's firmer, and I feel like it's more reliable when curling your petals. So I have 3 different sizes of rods here, just because I have different sizes of petals as well. I use the large one to curl the largest or even the second, and this one for the medium rod for the medium sizes petal, and the smaller rod for the smallest petals. I also have here, I don't know what do you call this wire, but it comes like this one. So if you know what this wire is, please put a comment below, so I will also be aware of what to call that in the next video I'm making. I cut it in 4 parts, so this is like the quarter of one wire. If you see, this is the wire, this is the quarter of it, and basically I use this one to hang my flowers and make it more easier for my clients to have their flowers bought from me hang on everywhere, walls, fabrics, or whatever. So I will also be teaching you how to put like a hanger on your base, so your flower will be ready, hanging everywhere. So basically that's it, what we need. And let's start. Let's set aside some of the things that we don't need yet. Let's focus on the things that we need at the moment. So as I said, if you bought SVG file from me, you don't need the pencil to trace and cut, because you can, I will include a video, I will include the link of the video I made earlier, which teach you how to upload the SVG file to your Cricut design space. At the same time, teaching you and giving you the sizes, the exact sizes I have here. It's all listed in that video, so no worries. But if you are one of those who bought a PDF file from us, this is what you're gonna get. You will have 4 sheets, no, 3 sheets of PDF attachment when you instantly download our PDF file. So it has the Petal 1 up to 6, but on this tutorial I only make up to 5. So for tutorial purposes, after you download your file, and I hope, because I'm so sorry, I have some clients that they didn't even know that they are going to download the file, and they basically are starting to get grumpy that they don't have their file. So when you buy the templates from Etsy, all you need to do is go to your receipt and then view your orders, and then download the file and make it sure you know the location where you saved that downloaded file. So once you already downloaded it, you can open it and then print it. And I would suggest, if you're going to print your like the very stencil sheets that you need to make, print it in more thicker paper. This one is this is a 65 pounds, but when I'm making templates, I print it in 110 or higher pounds. So you know, when you are tracing it, it's more reliable and it's not flimsy. So once you downloaded and print your templates, all you need to do is cut it and use this piece as your tracing stencil. So let's cut. By the way, PDF is something ideal for those who don't have a cutting machine and don't want to buy one and still wanting to make this beautiful rose flower. So after you, as I said, after you download it, all you need to do is print it and cut it this way, so you will have your uh, tracing stencil. We do also offer hard copies, which we will mail you, and it's already pre-cut. You don't have to do these steps anymore. You don't have to download, you don't have to trace, and no, I mean, you don't have to download, you don't have to cut it. It's all gonna be all sizes ready for you to make it as your tracing stencil. So there's your layer 1, and all you need to do is cut the remaining layers, which is up to 6, and there you have your stencil. So again, for this tutorial purposes, I'm gonna show you how I trace my petals, you know, to make it more economical, and would precisely just use 18 sheets for this large paper. So see, I have the base here. I also make it to the point that it's equal to the base of the cardstock that I'm using, and then just trace it. And you don't have to trace and cut one by one. The way how I do it, I trace 1 sheets and then I added 2 more sheets of paper for more efficiency. It makes my work faster. So for each layer, I only trace 1 sheet and then put empty sheets behind it and cut it all together. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but for me it makes a lot of sense. So anyway, I already shared with you how I trace my large, and now I'm gonna be teaching you on how I place every sheets or every layer, so it really can just use 18 sheets for this entire flower. So I have the pre-cut petals here. So for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna lay one by one so you can see how I trace this petals. So this large one here, that's the largest. So this is the layer 1, this is the layer 2, and if you notice, I position my layer 1 vertically and my layer 2 horizontally, because I wanted to utilize my paper. I want to save paper. I'm a Filipina, so you know, when you grow up in a third world country, as much as you can save a space or you can save something, you do it. So we're gonna make 6 of each layer, from layer 1 up to 4, but with layer 5 we need to make 12. So how I do that is that I make 1 here and also another one here upside down. So that is how I place my layer 2 and layer 5 together. And the layer 3 and layer 4 in 1 sheet. So again, In this particular flower design, we need to have 6 of layer 1, 6 of layer 2, 6 of layer 3, 6 of layer 4, and 12 of layer 5. So although we're only cutting 6 sheets of this paper, we still can achieve 12 because we have 2 layers of 5 here. So makes sense? All right. So let's keep this one here again and clear the table, and we will start the actual paper making. So first thing I usually do after I have all my petals cut, what I do is you're gonna eye the very center of the base of each petal, and in layer 1, which is the largest, I usually go the deepest. And the reason why I do that, it's because I want to lay this petal as low but with texture as possible. So makes sense. And remember, the deeper the cut, the lower it lays on the surface. And as you see, I really don't cut it one by one. I cut it all together because first thing, I want it to have a uniform depth of cut in it. And second thing, I don't consider myself as lazy. I just really wanted my work faster. Especially when, you know, like me, I'm the only one who do everything. And like for example, next month I'm gonna have 4 full wall of flowers for 4 different events. So I really need to make and find a way on how to make my work faster. So let's do that in all our petals. So 6 layer 1, and then another 6 for the layer 2, and layer 2 is almost the same as the layer 1 when it comes to the dip of my cut in the middle. And then layer 3, it's a little bit shallow compared to the 2. Well, first of all, it's shorter now, but you know what I mean. As you go to your smaller sizes, you make your center slit shallower. So here's our petal layer 4, and see, it's more shallow than the previous one. So now with layer number 5, as I told you earlier, I have 12. So let's divide this one into 2. So one group is 6 and the other one is 6. So you will know later why I do that. And this petal number 5, you have to make sure that it's just really shallow. See, it's like half of, or 3/4 of an inch. That's just the slit I made for this one. All right, so now all our petals are having their slit. Now it's time for us to curl our petals. So let's start again with layer 1. The way how I want to do it, I press this one like semi-fold in the middle. And why I do this? Because it creates more of texture to your flower. Not entirely up to the tip of the petal, but enough to really make a fold here. So that's how I do it. And now, using my dowel rod, I curl my petals. And I start with the largest because this is the large petal. And again, the way how I do it, I usually do it by batch. I don't have the patience to do it one by one. So here, I found it that, you know, if you roll three sheets together, it's just fine. And the way how I want to roll the outermost petal, which is layer 1, I roll it all outward on both sides. So I position my dowel rod a little bit slanted and roll it both outwards. So see, you have now some texture and curls on your flower. And again, let's do the same thing with our other half of this layer. Again, curling it outwards. There you have it. So our layer 1 is done. Let's go to our layer 2. Again, the same thing. Let's make a semi-fold at the middle and then grab half of it, which is 3 sheets, and then start rolling. With the second layer, I love to curl this one outward for the other side and inward for the other end. And the reason why I curl my layer 1 both outwards, I find it more suitable when you wanted your rose to look more it's more round compared when you are, you know, curling it outward and inward. So this is the second layer, so this just gives an extra texture to our flowers. It doesn't really necessarily mean that it's the one that gives the shape to our flower. The first layer does. So again, the second half, let's curl the other side outward and the other one inwards. And if you notice, I let go my large dowel rod and I'm using my medium size. When you are already, you know, doing this paper flower thing often, you would know which one to use. You would have the feel. So again, I would still keep using my medium one, and like the other 2 layers, I'm gonna start like semi-folding it in half, grab the half of it, which is 3 sheets, and then start rolling outward for the other side, and same as the second layer, roll the other side inwards. There it is. And into our second half. So here it is. Now comes to our 4th layer. So again, semi-fold it, but this time I'm using my small rod and take the half of it, roll the other side outward and the other side inward. Set it aside, grab the other half, roll it outward on the other side and inward on the others. So our layer 1, 2, 3 and 4 has already now a slit at the middle and then curled up uh, the way how we want it. So now our fifth layer, we have two sets of the fifth layer, the one with a slit and the one without. What we will do now is grab the set with the slit, and again, no, you don't have to fold it like what we did on the previous 4 layers, but we need to curl this because this is now the inner petals. What we will do, instead of just slightly position our rod, we curl it vertically and start rolling it inwards. Stop half and do the other side. So here is now our fifth layer, and then now grab the other half, do the same thing, curl the side inward and the other side inward. So here you go. Now let's set aside our pencil, our rods, and our scissors because we're no longer needing them. Let's grab our base and our wire. So before I placed all my petals around my base, I make sure that I have the wire that I can use to hang my flowers after it's made. So see, I made a hook out of this wire. I really don't know what this wire called, and using a little bit of glue, and then just stick it almost at the very edge, one of the edge of your base. And please be very careful. It's called hot glue because it really is hot. So a few times I've been burnt, but I guess my fingers are just getting used to it. So this is how you can hang your flowers with a hook, or even pin your flowers to the fabric with a safety pin using this one. So it makes easier for your client. So now the next thing we do, instead of placing our petals around our base, I make the center first. So the way how I do it, grab 2 pieces of your fifth layer petal and then put some glue at almost the very edge of the base of the other one, and then place the other one atop of it. So it looks like a bow tie now. And then, like a 1/4 of an inch, just make a fold and do the same thing with the other. Make a fold and see, it's like a butterfly now. What you will do next is, like press it inward, that it enables you to make like 2C in front of each other, and just hug it around each other. So if you can see, we already have our very first bud. Then now, glue the tip of the petal to secure it. And do the same thing to the other end, to the other tip. So, alright. Now we have our bud. But it looks awful, isn't it? It's not the rounded bud that we used to have. So now, let's have two of the other layer 5 petals. So what we can do is that, see this edge here, just dump a little glue in there and then place it at the center and almost edge of your other petal, and do the same thing with the second one. So let's place this one here and then just glue it, and now you have a bud with a bow tie, I guess. And we will do the same thing. We are going to hug this one around our bud. So let's just dab a little glue there. And then hug it around the bud. And again, make it sure that your base is really sticking together. Sometimes you have to hold it like few seconds, because if you don't, you know, you prematurely let go of it, and just like now, it's out. So I need to glue this one again and make sure to hold it, you know, and keeping this in place. So let's wait for a few seconds, and again, be careful because it really is very hot. So I guess it's now secure. Now let's do the other. Let's do the other side. And what we can do, we really have to make sure that it's, you know, it's tightly hugging. Not tightly, but I mean the base is really touching the previous bud that we made. So again, let's put some glue at the side top part, and then let's hug it to our bud enough that it gives a little space here for, you know, our bud to look like a bud. So there it is. It's starting to make a form now, and still it's not okay, and it's not, you know, acceptable as bud yet. But don't worry, we still have 2 more petals left. So what we can do here this time, put a glue at each side tip of your base, and then just glue your bud into it. So here you are. And again, do the same thing with your last petal in the set of your 5th layer that doesn't have a slit, and then just glue your bud into it. and wait for a while before doing anything in it, because as I said, you really need to hold it and not prematurely do something that it will just, you know, be out of its place. And even this one, I think I already hold, you know, enough time to it, but still it doesn't really glue the right way. Sometimes also your paper quality would have an effect to your gluing of petals. This one actually, it's not a very smooth paper. It's a rough one because I believe this is a recycled paper. So it's harder for, you know, somebody to glue it together, especially with this tight glue. So now all you need to do is, you know, press these petals upward like so, and then now start putting a glue on the side and hug it to your center bud. So now you can see that it's already starting to look like a bud, isn't it? See? So now it does really look like a bud. And as you can see, the sides are very sharp and pointed. So what I do, I usually just fold it inward to have, you know, like a more rounded shape of bud. So the four corners, I try to soften it by folding it inward. So now you have a rosebud. All right, let's set our bud aside and start placing our petals together. So let's start with our layer one. So as you can see, it's still having a slit on it. What we can do is to close that slit enough that it will give a little elevation of our petal, you know, when you place it to your base. You know, you don't want to, because you have a very deep cut, you don't have to just glue it at the very tip, because it won't, you know, it won't have any rise on it. So what you will do, you will also go a little bit deeper, and if you can see, if you place it, you make, you know, it stand a little bit more than just comparing to gluing it at the very tip of each slit. So here we go. Let's try to glue the slits together. Let's do all 6. That's how I do it. I find it more efficient when I do it that way. So now we're closing here the second. And by the way, I believe this rosebud is easier to make compared to the other rosebuds that you can find online. And even I have like the rose bone and the clover-like rose center. I find this technique more friendly, especially for a beginner. So I don't know, let me know what you think, but for me it's easier than the 2 other methods I've known. So here we've done gluing the slit of our layer 1. What we can do now is attach these petals into our base. And mostly lots of question I have in Instagram and, you know, in my Etsy is that, especially when you're a beginner, it's very hard to distribute your petals properly and evenly. So I found also a new technique through times, you know, on how to distribute it properly and evenly. So what you will do is just right at the very left part of your slit, just dab a little glue in there, and no, nothing else. That's it. And then just place it, you know, at the outermost, as far as you can get, like, see, enough that it reaches the edge of your base. And then the next part is that to evenly distribute it, instead of putting it next to each other, what I do is I place my second large petal opposite, very opposite to the very first one. Because I'm using 6 petals, just makes sense that you have 2 here, and then 2 here, and 2 here. And most likely you will evenly distribute your petals this way than, you know, placing in one here and the next and the next and the next and the next and the next. So the next thing I do is grab 2 petals and just insert it here. And that's the reason why we don't put any glue at the side tip of our base. So we can just easily insert it like this, hold it, and then this one here. And this way, it gives you all the flexibility to rearrange it, you know, if it's not well balanced. Because remember, we are using hot glue. Once it's thick, the next option you have is to rip it off and cut a new petal, and we don't want that. Especially me, because I don't want to waste my paper and I don't want to cut another petal. So see, I hold it in place when I am satisfied with the placement, and then just at the very bottom, start putting glue on your petal and press it to your base. And again, be careful, it's really hot. So I glue this one first. Because, you know, I need to make this part more flexible. So again, on its behind its base, let's start putting a glue again and just press it. So now you have your 4 petals in place, and I believe it's really evenly distributed. And this one, we need to dab a glue. Now we have the right, because we already stick the 2 petals in here. So now the next thing that we need to do, the same way as we did the opposite 2 petals, we'll do the same. So arrange it in a way that you feel like it's evenly distributed, and then hold it, and then from behind just squeeze some hot glue in there, press, and again doing it to the next petal and press. And again, this one, the tip of this last one, just glue it. And you know, wherever you feel like you need to secure with a glue, just glue it all together. So now you have your first layer. And before I proceed, I really wanted to make sure that I secure and reinforce the glue I made at the base. So I do that. I squeeze some glue in the gaps and then just press it inward. Alright, so we have now our first layer. Now it's time for our second layer. The reason why I did not glue all the slits together is that once you have your first layer, now you can identify how far you should go on gluing your slits, so it will create, you know, more steady stand compared to your last layer. So I believe, see, I need to glue it this part, like half of the other slit. So let's do that. Let's glue it half to the other slit. And now we can do all the 6 petals in this layer, because now we're able to identify the placing, the right placing of our you know, slit to glue into. So again, this is the 4th, and then the 5, and then the 6. So again, grab your first layer assembled flower, and then let's now start putting our second layer. So the same way as we did with the first layer, let's glue this one here, like at the very edge of the base, in between the 2 petals from the previous layers. And again, to evenly distribute it, let's go to the opposite side of the first place of the second layer. So we are placing it very opposite to this first one. And now, because we have the guide of the right and appropriate placing of the petals, we don't have to put all the 2, although we can, but for me it's just a hassle. What I do is just dab a glue in here and sneak it behind, making it sure that it's level and it's in the middle of, or in between of, the 2 petals of the previous layers. So same thing with this one, just dab a glue and insert it to the petals next to it, making it sure that's in the middle of the 2 petals of the previous layers. So now we need to secure the tip of this petals. Just secure it, and leaving this one, you know, unglue, because we still have 2 more petals that we need to place in there. So just dab some glue, insert it, making it sure it's in the middle of the 2 previous layers, and the last one of the second layer, the last petal of the second layer. So again, secure it, secure, and secure. So now you have 2 layers of your flowers. Actually, this flower is pretty okay for me now. All you need to do is just to, you know, put some fluffy center in it. But this video tutorial is intended to make a rose, so let's continue. Set this aside again and proceed to layer 3. And before we glue it, let's try to check, you know, the right placement of our slit. So the same thing, like half of the other slit, just glue it all together and do it with all the 6 petals we have. And I'm really glad that it's starting to get sunny now, because I do my photos and videos just using the natural light. So earlier it was gloomy. I was worried that I won't be able to make this video. Thankfully, now it's starting to get sunny. So I think I really have to invest on the proper lighting to do more videos and photos of my flower. So now all our 3rd layers are done gluing its slit. We need to do the same thing as we did to the 2nd layer. So place it, you know, enough that it would stick here. We don't want to move it closer to the center, because remember, you have a large rosebud that you need to place in the middle. So that's the reason why. So we stick in this surroundings here. And then again, with the old same method, let's place the 2nd petal of the 3rd layer opposite to the very first one we had. And sneak this one in the middle, making it sure that it's in between of the 2 petals of the previous layers, which basically is same position as the very first layer we had. So here I will secure it all at once later, so you know, we won't get confused. It happened to me before that I also secure this and I have to rip it off, so we don't want to do that. Sometimes when you're doing like lots of flowers together, being mindful is really not an option when you have lots of things around your mind. So let's just secure it all at once. So now the last petal is here. As I said, let's secure it all at once. Secure, 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 and then secure. So it's really blooming now and starting to get full. So let's start with our 4th layer. And I believe, let's see. Okay, so same placement. I think I perfectly, you know, do the right cut, because I still, you know, still glue it in the middle of the other side of the slit. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So now our six petals of our layer 4 is done. Same way on sticking in it, and make sure that you will not go beyond the line here for our rosebud. So here is the start of our layer 4. Petal 4. Second to the last. And last layer of our petal, last petal of our layer 4. One second. So now it's time for us to do our innermost, no, not innermost, but next to our bud. Let's just glue because it has shallower cut at the middle. When you glue it all the way, even in the middle, it still create an more upright petal compared to the rest. So let's glue and stick it together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now let's see. Okay, so all we really need to do is to cover the spots here and there, and just to put some texture at the almost middle part of it. So the same way as we did with the other layers, let's start here, placing it in the middle of the 2 previous petals in the previous layers, and then again the next will be at the opposite side. So the third, the fourth, the fifth, and then the sixth. And then now we can put our bud in the middle. So see how I do it is I put the glue around the bud to really secure it. just glue it at the very center of your flower and hold it in place for seconds. There you have it. Now you have this magnificent rose using one templates together. So I hope you do like the video and start making your own rose. Please tag me on Instagram if you're making this rose using my templates and using the methods that I make. I would really love to see your video. Bye for now, and again, this video is only exclusive for those who buy these templates from my shop. And watch out for my, more tutorials and more videos soon. Bye!